What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicy Jet Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Rooney, and it is slow time in football right now. So don't have a ton of topics for today, but we do have a good episode ahead of us. We got a couple things that have happened over the past week in Jetsland that we do want to talk about. Obviously, got to have our gym break, got to have our trivia like we always do. I do want to talk a little bit about training camp, want to talk a little bit about CJ Mosley. So there are a few things out there that I just want to chat quickly about before we head into the rest of this week. But to start, as always, let's go with our trivia question. This is another one that you might want to pause this recording, try to figure out the answer before you move on. And who knows, maybe my background has a couple hints for you. I don't know, maybe. So hopefully you're watching this on YouTube. If not, you're in trouble. But the New York Jets, since 2015, have had 6 first-team All-Pro players. Who are the 6 players? There's actually been 7 total, but one person is on there twice. So 6 first-team All-Pros. This is not Pro Bowlers. This is first-team All-Pros, which means there's really only 1 or 2 of these folks at every position. So there's only 6 for the New York Jets since 2015. Who are the 6 players? Good luck. We'll get back to you. And bonus question, if you can figure out who has the most All-Pros in Jets history, I will give you bonus points, even though there's no reward for winning. So good luck, but let's get into what's going on in Jetsland. First of all, I want to give a big happy birthday to a Jets legend, someone who's only going to be remembered as a New York Jet, someone who built his entire career on the foundation of being a New York Jet, and that is Hall of Fame running back LaDainian Tomlinson. Unreal that he was actually on the Jets. Still can't believe it. For 2 years where, you tried to make the stretch run, and he almost did. He had a great touchdown against New England in that playoff game that is going to go down as the second most important game in New York Jets history thus far, because it was the second biggest win we've ever had. So shout out to LT, a legend. Happy birthday to LaDainian Tomlinson. But in current team news, we've got some signings. And I know I talked a little bit about this on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those places. But we got kicker news. The Jets signed a new kicker. He's nicknamed the Thicker Kicker. Harrison Mevis. This guy, he's young. He played in the UFL last season. I think he was 20 for 21. He's got a big leg. I think he made one from 63 yards in the UFL last year. The reason why he is the thicker kicker is because he weighs 240 plus pounds and is like 6 feet tall or something like that. So he's got a little meat on him. And he reminds me of one of the former kickers the Jets used to have, Fat Randy Bullock. He ended up playing for the Jets just for a little bit, and then he went on to like Houston, had a pretty decent career where he bounced around a little bit. But yeah, you got to root for a fat kicker. Like I'm team big kicker. I also remember back in the day when we had an athletic kicker, Jay Feely, who's now running for Congress or something like that. He used to make tackles all over the place. So, when you're a bad team, you need things that are kind of exciting. And having a thicker kicker is going to make things exciting. So with that, they actually go ahead and cut Anders Carlson. Anders Carlson was the veteran on the roster, which is kind of surprising. I think he was 8 of 10 last year with the Jets. So kind of interesting that we're going to go with Mevis potentially, plus a rookie, Caden Davis. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this kicker competition plays out. I also wonder do either of these players make the team? Is it we just have these guys in, maybe one sticks on the practice squad for the year, and then we sign someone who gets cut from another roster who might be a little bit better? I'm very nervous that we're entering into this twilight zone that we're always in, where we just circle around kickers forever and we enter kicker purgatory and we never have a good one, because it seems like every time we have a good one we let them go, and or they just get bad because we have them too long. So there's no good middle ground. So we'll see what happens, but that's the big signing news. There's other small things that happened, I think 2 weeks ago that we didn't really talk about. Marquise Hayes, Kingsley Jonathan gets signed. We waive Zach Bailey, Trey Swilling. Neither were going to make the team anyway, so nothing big there. Probably just camp bodies, potential practice squad bodies. So that's really all that's happened in Jetsland. Everybody's out on vacation. You can see through everybody's Instagrams and Twitters that they're all on the beach somewhere, enjoying their time off before they get back to training camp. I also see that there's some folks working out. That's good to see. But yeah, it's a good time for them to relax. I saw some videos. Sauce Gardner was at the Fanatics event recently. Nothing crazy came out of that. He just said the contract extension's coming very soon. So it sounds like he's optimistic, but we'll see how that goes. Now, in other news, once again, I don't want to be talking about this, but it's just something that doesn't go away, and it's so annoying. But Aaron Rodgers was talking smack about the Jets again this week. So I guess he had this like 30-minute sit down or something like that with Mark Schlereth, who formerly of ESPN used to play for like the Broncos back in the day, nicknamed Stink. I guess they had this sit down, and Aaron Rodgers just went on a 30-minute tirade about the Jets' running game last year. Here is my frustration. So Aaron Rodgers is complaining about the running game. The problem I'm having is he said schematically it was just a mess. Well, number one, who put in the scheme that picks which plays we're going to run, how the linemen are going to block, where the running back's going to go? Do you think maybe it's your hand-picked offensive coordinator that you had to bring along with you because he's your best buddy on the planet in Nathaniel Hackett? So he starts complaining about that. Yes, the rest of the coaching staff was horrible. I thought our offensive line coach was one of the worst in the league. Everybody complains about him. Not good. So happy he's gone. But Breece Hall was averaging like 4 yards a carry last year. Aaron Rodgers was constantly checking out of the run to throw. We threw more than any other team in the red zone last year when we had Breece Hall in the backfield with Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and we barely ran the ball. So, and then when Olu came in, we were even better. So you can complain all you want about the run game and all that stuff, but it is 100% on you that this run game didn't work out because you kept checking out of plays and your best friend was calling a ridiculous game as an offensive coordinator. So complain all you want. Keep blaming other people beside yourself. Keep being the center of attention. Keep leaning on the fact that you're upset that the Jets were bad last year. But guess what? We had you for 2 years. We only got 5 wins out of it. So at the end of the day, you got to look yourself in the mirror. So the Aaron Rodgers saga continues. The more that he keeps talking about our team, the more I want to beat the crap out of him come early September, week 1 of the year. Because it's really getting out of hand how much he just keeps talking about us when all of it is on him. And really, like, between the coaching staff, him, Joe Douglas, like, that's the holy trinity of awfulness from last year. So thank you, Aaron Rodgers, for continuing to keep us relevant. But that was it. That was the big stuff that came out this past week. Sad that we still have to talk about Aaron Rodgers, but it just doesn't end. He just doesn't stop. Also, I don't know if you've heard about this thing where he's like said he's married, yet no one in his family knows who this person is. There's no pictures of him with anybody. There's paparazzi seeing him on the beach just by himself. So is he like married to himself? Is he married to the game? Is it a spiritual thing? I have no idea. But man, he's a weird dude. I'll tell you that. All right, let's take a break. Let's go into a gym break real quick. For those of you that haven't been here before, I am a Jets, Islanders, Mets, Knicks fan. So J-I-M spells Jim with a silent K at the end because we need to talk about the Knicks. So let's talk about the first things first. The New York Islanders. It is draft week. The New York Islanders will be drafting number 1 overall this week. There hasn't been any sort of smoke signals about who they're going to take. It sounds less and less likely they're going to take the guy from Long Island, which could have been a really great story, but I'm going to trust that they're going to pick the best player possible, especially with our new GM. So we'll see how that all goes, but we'll have news come next week about who the Islanders pick in the first round, first overall pick of the NHL draft. So more to come there. The Mets. Oh boy, the Mets. The Mets they're just on a horrible losing streak right now. They get swept by the Rays. They get swept by the Braves. They win 1 of 3 against the Phillies. Lost last, and now they're losing to the Braves. Juan Soto just hit a home run to make it 3-2. So hopefully the Mets can stay in this game against the Braves right now. But, oof, it is ugly right now. I have no idea who some of these pitchers are that we're rolling out there. The lineup's not hitting. We had 7 solo home runs in the one game that we played. So we still can't score, get people on base, hit with runners in scoring position. It's been a rough stretch. This is probably a really bad timing to get bad for the New York Mets, but I guess you'd rather be bad and have this streak now in June than have it in July, August, September, October. So hopefully we're getting it out of the way. We'll get some reinforcements back. It sounds like Vientos might be on their way back. Sounds like we have a couple pitchers that are getting close, like Montas, people like that. So I don't know what's going on with Jesse Winker, but he's been out for forever. So we'll see. But we're getting into the middle of the summer now, and it's really we're letting the Braves right back in it, and the Phillies are overtaking us for first place. So hopefully we can turn it around. Hopefully get some people healthy. Hopefully Alvarez can start hitting, but it is a disaster out there right now. All right, so that is the New York Mets. And then finally the Knicks. This is a very weird situation because the Knicks still don't have a head coach. And the NBA draft is also this week. Obviously, last night was the finals for the NBA championship, Game 7. Oklahoma City Thunder win. Very disappointing game because Halliburton got hurt early in the game, and it just felt like it was over from that point on. I thought it was going to be a really exciting down to the wire type game, but yeah, the Thunder just kind of took over in the second half and never really looked back. So it wasn't that exciting down to the wire finish that you thought you'd get, but still a decent series. I was happy Oklahoma City won. But yeah, we're in a weird situation right now with the draft this week. We don't have a coach. You don't really hear a lot about it either, so I'm not really sure what's going on with them. Um, we all said if you fire Thibodeau, you better have a plan, and I don't really see the plan right now. But there are a couple exciting assistant coaches out there that maybe they pull in. But we'll see what happens over the next week. Hopefully they make some moves eventually, but haven't seen anything yet. So that is the Knicks. Finally, this is actually one other thing. This is not part of the gym break, but I did go to MetLife Stadium this weekend to watch a soccer game against, it was the FIFA Club World Cup, and we watched a Brazilian team play against a South Korean team, which was really fun. It was really cool to be there. I thought about how lucky I am that I get to go watch the Jets, not only every Sunday, but at home, but I get to go watch them wherever they are throughout the United States, throughout the world, now that I've been to the UK to see them too. And some of these folks don't get that opportunity. So there were a ton of people that were fans of this Brazilian team that we watched. And I'm just thinking to myself, these guys are so all of a sudden like they probably lived here for years, and randomly this team gets assigned to play at MetLife Stadium and they get to come watch them. So it just made me think about how cool it is that I get to go all the time, and they don't always get that, and they got to see their team win. It was 4-2. It was great. It was a really fun game. So you could see we had this one guy in front of us. His team scored when they scored the winning goal, the one that would be the winning goal. He's just hugging I think it was his daughter, kissing her on the head. Like you could tell the passion was really coming out. We got ketchup thrown all over us, me and my brother. So it was, yeah, they were partying. That's for sure. But it was a cool time. Now the cool thing about being there at MetLife is obviously they're going to have the World Cup final there. I think it's next year. So what they need to do is put down grass. So they put grass down on MetLife's field, and MetLife is notorious for causing ACL injuries because of the turf that we normally have during football games. So it looked good. It looked clean. It seemed like everybody kept their feet. No one was really slipping. So I'd be interested to see if they can ever bring it to the NFL, because they get tortured by this turf thing, and too many people have gotten hurt in the past. So we'll see if they ever fix that. Now, next soccer thing, which I didn't think I'd be talking about soccer this much, Woody Johnson decided to buy a soccer team just yesterday. I think it was yesterday, Crystal Palace. So he spent like $200+ million to buy this team, which is pocket change for Woody Johnson. I mean, the Jets are worth like, I don't know, $8 billion. I think his net worth is somewhere in the $20 billion range. So this is nothing. It's like us, going on a trip or something like that for him. So I don't know what this means. I don't know if it means that he's going to spend more time doing one over the other. I don't know if Christopher Johnson's going to take more of a leading role on one of those sides. But yeah, he's involved in the UK soccer team now. So we'll see what that means in the future. But it looks like it hasn't officially gone through yet. But he's been, I think it's locked in the agreement. Now they have to get approval from like the boards that he's a good owner and all that stuff. So he should get approved. So yeah, very interesting. This gym break has become a soccer talk at this point, but That's Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson going to buy a team. Good for him. I would do the same if I had $20 billion. All right, let's get back into our current New York Jets team. The last thing I wanted to talk about before we talk about CJ Mosley is training camp is coming. We are only a month out from training camp now, about 4 weeks. So the schedule is official. The rookies are going to show up Friday, July 19th. That's going to be for them to get settled in. They're going to do their all their medical stuff, everything like that, physicals, make sure they're all good to go. Because the pads are going to come on a few days later, so they got to make sure they're in tip-top shape. The veterans will arrive Monday, July 22nd, and I'm recording this on June 23rd, so yeah, we're under a month away. So those are the two big dates. I typically will go to any of the weekend practices. I can't go during the week. I've got a regular job. So during the weekend, I will try to get tickets and go to those practices. There's also going to be 2 joint practices. The Jets and Giants are going to practice twice against each other. August 12th will be at Florham Park where the Jets practice. That's going to be Giants at Jets. And then August 13th, they're going to go to East Rutherford for Jets at Giants practice. So that'll be right at MetLife in that in the Quest Center right outside of MetLife Stadium. So that should be interesting. We'll see how fired up that gets. Yeah. But if I can make it to those, I will definitely go to those as well. Just depends on timing and all that. So yeah, it sounds like those are the only joint practices I've heard of. It doesn't look like we're going to play the Packers. Doesn't look like we're going to play the Eagles with joint practices. Those are the other 2 teams we're playing in the preseason. I don't want to play the Packers in joint practice because that is where Carl Lawson tore up his leg and he was like tearing it. He was doing awesome in training camp and he was supposed to be the big signing we had. Tore his, I think it was his Achilles or ACL, and he was never the same ever again. His career was over. So, yeah, well, I'm good on the joint practices with the Green Bay Packers. So that is it. It's coming. It's coming fast. So get ready for training camp just around the corner. Now, finally, the last thing I want to talk about before we get into the answer to our trivia question is CJ Mosley. I talked a little bit about this across Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those things. But CJ Mosley officially retires. It sounds like he was trying to ring chase a little bit, go back to Baltimore, but his neck wouldn't pass the medical tests. It just sounds like he wasn't going to be able to play ever again. We heard stories that last year he was having trouble putting a helmet on because of how bad his neck was hurting, which is like, okay, if you can't put a helmet on, you're not making a tackle, so sorry. He was starting to slow down too. You could see it at the end of 2 years ago in 2023. 2024, he played a little bit, and he just wasn't the same guy. But looking back on his career as a Jet, I think he played with the Jets for 6 years. Well, he was technically signed by the Jets for 6 years. And there was 1 year where he opted out for COVID, so we didn't even see him. And that's where Jets fans were like, why do we pay this guy? But that first year he played, the first year that he was on the team where he only played for 2 quarters, maybe 3 quarters, it was the best, most dominant defensive game of football I have ever seen in my life. He had a pick 6 on probably the 5th play of the game, something like that. Josh Allen throws a pick 6 because he threw it behind his receiver. CJ Mosley runs it into the end zone for a touchdown. And this is the game, this is where we had Adam Gase, all those guys. So, and the new uniform reveals, which end up being some of the worst uniforms we've ever had. So he has that pick 6. Then he recovers a fumble a few drives later. And then, he's swatting passes all over the place, making tackles like a middle linebacker would. Then there's a 30-yard pass down the seam, and he's flying with this wide receiver into the end zone and deflects that pass, which should have been a touchdown too. And unfortunately on that play, he pulls his groin, and he ends up being out for the rest of the year because of this groin injury. But it was the greatest, 3 quarters. I think it was only a half. Greatest half of football I've ever seen a defensive player play. So that was amazing. Then eventually after COVID, he comes back. He starts to be that leader that we know him as today. I don't know if he actually did anything here, but I give him major credit for Quincy Williams coming onto the squad and becoming an eventual Pro Bowl linebacker for us. I give him credit for Jamie Sherwood being who he is today because he was a safety that was then moved to linebacker. So, you give Robert Saleh that credit as well as the coaches on that staff. But CJ Mosley plays a big part in that as well. He's a really upstanding player too. He's someone you were happy to cheer for. He hit hard, never gave up, always talked to the media and said the right things. So he never got in trouble. So CJ Mosley, I don't know how he's going to be remembered as a Jet, Raven. I wish we were able to have some winning seasons with him so that, his time here as a Jet mattered more. But what are you going to do? You know? So CJ, happy retirement. Thought he was a great player for us. And yeah, hopefully Quincy and Jamian can hold down the fort in that linebacker core without him. So we'll see how that all goes. And I wouldn't be surprised, maybe not this year, because I think he's still owed money from the team and he's got a ton. And maybe he wants to relax, heal up, all that kind of stuff in retirement. I wouldn't be surprised in the next few years you see him in the coaching ranks somewhere, whether it's in high school, college, the pros. Because, yeah, he's got that leadership mentality, but who knows? He's got so much money that maybe not. So that was CJ Mosley. All right, so that's it. 20 minutes on some of the Jet stuff that we got going on around here. Let's answer this trivia question, and then we'll get out the door here. So my trivia question was, since 2015, the Jets have had 6 All-Pro players, 7 total. So 6 All-Pro players, one person got it twice. Who are the 6 players who are named All-Pro since 2015? So if you're looking at my background right now, you can see 2 of the more obvious ones. We've got Quincy Williams, and we got Sauce Gardner. And Sauce Gardner is the one who got it twice. He was, both his rookie year and his second year, he was a first-team All-Pro. Next, so that's 2. Next, we've got Quinnen Williams, who was a first-team All-Pro in 2022, the brother of Quincy. So 2 brothers, 2 All-Pros right there. Then we've got, this is a really hard one. This is a hard question. Then we got Jamal Adams. 2019 was a first-team All-Pro strong safety. So that is, 4 we've got right there? Now, these are the tough ones. In 2018, we had our wide receiver / punt and kick returner, Andre Roberts, as a first-team All-Pro. I would applaud you if you remember Andre Roberts. That would have been a really good one. And then finally, last but not least, he's going to go down as someone who's not as beloved as he was when he was a Jet, but Braxton Berrios in 2021 as a kick and punt returner as well. So we got Sauce, Quincy, Quinnen, Jamal Adams, Braxton Berrios, Andre Roberts are the 6, with Sauce Gardner getting it twice. Now, my secondary question, bonus points, this is for the older Jets fans out there, like the really old Jets fans out there, the ones who have been around since the early days. Who has the most first-team All-Pros as a Jet? He has 5. 5 first-team All-Pros. The next person in line has 3, so he's a dominant one. And the answer is linebacker from the New York Titans and the New York Jets, Larry Grantham. 1960, 61, 62, 63, and 64. What a 5-year stretch for him. And he was on the Jets when they won the Super Bowl on January 12th, 1969. And there's a famous clip of him clutching the ball, kind of like skipping and running off the field as they won. So that is Larry Grantham, just because he was the wily vet on that team, along with like guys like Don Maynard, for example. So that was my trivia question, and that is our episode for today. So I appreciate everybody listening. If you don't follow me already, YouTube, subscribe, do all the good things, like this video. TikTok, JuicyJet25. Twitter, JuicyJet25. Instagram, JuicyJet25. Please like, rate, subscribe, review. If you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you might be listening, please throw this a little like and subscribe. It would help me out greatly. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great week. I hope everybody stays cool. I hope the New York Mets win some ball games. I hope the Islanders pick a great first round, number 1 overall pick. I hope the Knicks find a coach, and I hope the New York Jets stay out of trouble. So thanks all for listening, and I will talk to you soon. See you later.